I didn't have an immediate calling, but I knew I wanted to work in the death industry. You always know that person's name.
Yeah.
I always talk with my people. I always call them by names.
Hold on. Your people meaning the person that you're embalming.
Taking care of, yes.
So you're talking directly to them.
I always do. That courtyard got attacked by mortars that were sent by insurgents. You could hear the screams and groans across that courtyard.
What you've seen in the Army, as far as the tragedies, do you think that made the mortuary business easier when it comes to seeing these bodies? All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the HORRORble podcast, man. Before we move forward, I just want to continue to tell you guys thank you for subscribing to the channel. I think we're at 14,000 subs by the time this comes out. So I do want to give a shout out to y'all and thank everybody that has watched, that has spread the word, has sent this to family and friends. Please continue to do so and continue to like the channel and the stuff we put out. With that being said, tonight, man, we are here with a very, very special person by the name of Anthony. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Can you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Anthony Saldivar, and I'm a special makeup effects artist and mortician based out of San Antonio, Texas.
There you go, man. We're going to get into the mortician stuff for sure. Army. You
Army.
Spent 20 plus years in the Army.
20 plus years in the United States Army.
You did what? 2 years in Iraq?
No, I did 2 combat tours in Iraq, and I did 1 combat tour in Afghanistan.
You're done with the Army. You jump into mortuary science.
Not right away.
Okay.
The second tour, that was the tour where, and it's the only time I've used this word in my life, epiphany of being a special makeup effects artist. And keep in mind, I'm a child of the 80s, so I loved Fangoria magazine. Read it all the time,
Classic,
man.
yep.
Still got some of my issues. You know, it was all about Fangoria. There's no internet, so, you know, to see the horror movies or past horror movies. But either way, I was still getting sent the magazine. I remember flipping through the pages, and this was 2006 to 2007 for my second tour. And I saw the advertisement for the Tom Savini special makeup effects course, and I'm reading all the description, and I'm like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not? I'm doing this.
So you went right from the Army to that?
Almost, yes. I did go to special makeup effects school, but not the Tom Savini school. My last duty station was in California. I was at Fort Irwin at the National Training Center, training with combat units the entire time. And there was a few people I had met on my self journey of special makeup effects that had told me, like, hey, you know you're in Los Angeles, or like Los Angeles is a few hours away. Why are you going to Pennsylvania? Because I'm sure everyone that graduates over there is going to want to go over there. So why don't you just go straight to LA? And I was like, huh. So anyway, I started doing my research, and I came across cinema makeup school up in Hollywood, you know, and I went into the master makeup program there at Cinema Makeup School, and I was happier than a pig in shit when I got there. I'm like, I made it.
So is that where you're learning how to do these things? Because this is his work, guys.
My silicone severed heads. You know, I will say that at the very end, it's not. It's a final course that you can take, and it's called Advanced Lab Techniques.
Okay.
And it is making severed heads. And the great part is, at least at the time I was there, for those who took this class, these classes were done inside of one of the big effects studios. So the effects studio that I got to do my class in was at Amalgamated Dynamics Incorporated, ADI. So the company responsible for Aliens versus Predator, Tremors, Starship Troopers, walking into that place and seeing everything mounted on the wall. And that was just like, ooh, that's a brain bug.
Okay, got you.
Cinema makeup school was great, man. I was like, here I am. I'm in Los Angeles. You know, I'm getting to do all the stuff I've been dreaming about. And I will tell you this, the first class I get to when I'm there, because I'm all stoked, and it's beauty makeup. Right?
Gotta start you somewhere.
Now, I will say this, though. out of everything that I have taken, I had no idea that was the class that was going to pay off in dividends for me later on down the line.
Well,
but as a brand new, as a freshly retired soldier coming in, like I had no business knowing what blush was and midtones and highlights, but I do now, and I'm glad I do.
All right, so at what point did you jump into mortuary school?
Right after cinema makeup school. So right after Cali, I'm like, you know what? I've been away from home for a while. Maybe it's time to go back to San Antonio. I'm like, maybe there's some special effects stuff I can find down there. But there was one thing that I did pick up from the tours, and I knew that I was comfortable around death. And the two things that have never failed with history is two things that always make money. It's sex and death. You know, I didn't have an immediate calling, but I knew I wanted to work in the death industry. Mm-hmm. And as I'm searching, you know, I'm like, maybe I can be a medical examiner. Until I realized that's a doctorate position. Yeah. I was like, that's a lot more schooling. As I was looking at San Antonio, I came across the mortuary science school at San Antonio College. And as I was reading through the curriculum and looking at the classrooms, I'm like, this is like special makeup effects for the dead. There was a lot more involved to it, but that's the way my mind was processing it. Not fully knowing that would soon be my next calling, calling, and would change my life for the better, So I enrolled in San Antonio College and went through the 2-year mortuary science program, and that was not maybe for some people it was a cakewalk. It wasn't a cakewalk for me. That stuff was hard. There was a lot involved in being a mortician, right? Because a lot of people don't understand that we are talking about 2 separate licenses, and come to find out that Texas is one of the more difficult places to get licensed because you have to be a licensed funeral director and you have to be a licensed embalmer. You can be a licensed funeral director alone, but you're technically not supposed to be a licensed embalmer. So the way the saying goes is every embalmer you meet is a funeral director, but not every funeral director you meet will be an embalmer.
Gotcha. Speaking of embalming, some people may not know what this is. May you please explain to us exactly what embalming a body
Oh, absolutely. So embalming, without going into some long history lesson from back to Egypt, it was, we're talking about preparing someone who has passed away with chemicals that are going to preserve, disinfect, and restore someone so that a family has time to actually say goodbye. And in the funerals, as most of my peers will I'm sure agree, I've always been taught that funerals are for the living, they're not for the dead. Now, unfortunately, when it does come time for someone to cross over to wherever that is, whatever anyone's beliefs are, the natural cycle of life is going to start taking its toll on the human body. That means decomposition is going to begin to set in. Things are going to happen to that body, and it's different for everyone, based off of age, situation, temperature, disease that person was dealing with. It all affects people differently. There's only so much time before that body is going to become in a state where it might be difficult to see, or a family would even want to see. So what embalming does is introduce formaldehyde into the circulatory system of someone who has passed away that now coagulates proteins and slows decomposition to almost nothing for a very long extended period of time. And that allows that person to be viewed by the family in whichever way they choose to, because there's funerary practices are many, but for here, typically in the United States, let's just say it's a viewing. That means someone that someone loves being placed into a casket in their favorite dress, and that time for that family to celebrate that person in whatever form it is. You know, because one thing that I've really appreciated about this journey is I've come to respect a lot more the cultures, the rites, the rituals, because there's so many, not just here in the United States, but across the world when it comes to celebrating the dead.
Let me ask you this. You've embalmed these bodies. You've taken them from a potential closed casket to an open casket.
Yes, I have. And so that particular statement revolves around a skill set that would be referred to as postmortem reconstructive surgery. That's a fancy term to say that, unfortunately, people sometimes leave this life in very violent ways that may destroy the face.
Of course. Yeah.
The skull, kind of like a light bulb being crushed. Typically, when something like that happens, it's a closed casket service. Now, this is something that, for myself and a couple of other people I know, learned at the Fountain National Academy in Springfield, Missouri, by a gentleman named Vernie Fountain, a Vietnam vet. Magnificent man. I learned so much from him that he offered this course to embalmers. And it was such a magnificent skill set that we learned on how to reconstruct a human skull. To be able, from the bottom up, to have a possibility, because there's never a guarantee of possibly being able to have that family say goodbye to someone, which in normal cases would not happen. And it's not that none of my peers or everyone is able to do this that is licensed, but not everyone is trained to do it, because this is definitely, unlike special makeup effects, you can't have a portfolio when you're an embalmer. It's not like, yeah, right. It's not like, here, let me show you these pictures now.
Yeah.
But there is no words for someone that, as an embalmer, there's been more than a few times where a family member, if it's not going up to, say, the owner of the funeral home, or a family member coming up to you because you've had interaction with them, telling you, thank you. We didn't think we were going to be able to see them again. There are no words. Yeah. There are no words for that, man. It's always heart-wrenching, and it's always hard to keep a straight face when I see that, because it is, I always have to go, for myself, I always have to go to the side and thank my higher power for that gift that I have, But it's always a strange road that I walk, because I always like to say I get to make the living look dead and the dead look living.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Because I do want to get into this process so that people can get this visually. In movies, you see people, you see morticians, the body rolls in on the tray. They remove the sheet. Is this how you get the body? Is this how you reveal the body the first time you've seen it? How do you?
So typically what tends to happen now, and there's can be variations for this, as a funeral director or even an embalmer, and again, depending on the funeral home you work for, you're going to get a call from the family is going to either talk with yourself or another funeral director to inform that funeral home that they have chosen that they have someone, their loved one has passed away in whatever form or capacity. Now, as a funeral director, it's our job to ask, to be able to find where that decedent is, where that loved one is, because that person may have died under hospice care at their home. They may have died at a car accident and they're at the medical examiners and have not been released yet. They may be at a hospital, in the hospital morgue. So we have to go and bring that person into our care, the funeral home's care. So we'll go and get that person, bring them back to the funeral home, in which time typically they'll be placed in a refrigeration unit until the details are discussed to the funeral director and embalmer as far as what the family wants for that person. But
at that point, you've already seen the body.
Identification, yes. Have to be able to identify. And that means the tags that are placed on those individuals in the body bags that they're in.
You mean you yourself placing the tag upon that body?
No, those tags
prior?
are typically placed by where let's just say someone dies at the hospital and they are taken down to the hospital morgue.
Understood.
After the hospital does what they need to, the hospital is going to ID that body and make sure that they have multiple forms of identification on the physical person and on the bag, the body bag that they are in. So it is our job to make sure that that we are getting the right person.
Right.
Again, identification. So
Gotcha.
when they're taken back to the funeral home, family may want cremation, but if they are going to be viewed and they have given permission for embalming, because embalming is not, like, particularly here in Texas, it's not a requirement. It's not required to be embalmed, but it may be a requirement for, say, a funeral home if the family wants to have a view.
Of course, yeah.
So that means there might be an exception depending, but the funeral home are going to want that particular person to be embalmed, and a family's going to want embalming. When that decedent is covered with a sheet, the embalmers are going to start going through their own embalming analysis.
Yeah.
Because based off of how this person died is going to determine the chemicals that embalmer is going to use, or the chemicals, like, say, I will use, problems that I'm going to see with this, because when formaldehyde, again, is introduced into the circulatory system by making an incision by the right common carotid artery, raising that artery, making an incision to place what is called a arterial tube that goes into an embalming machine that has a liquid in it, it's going to start going through and start making a racetrack through the body. But if you're looking at the person in front of you and say they are obese, emaciated, there might be something in that circulatory system that's going to stop this liquid, right? And again, based off of the disease. So you're trying to already think about this prior to
mapping it out.
Yeah, because once it's the troubleshooting. The embalming portion itself, it's not too difficult. It's the problems you're going to encounter. Because once that fluid stops, now you're going to have to start raising other arteries. But after that particular person is cleared on the table, and we talked about the incision right above the clavicle on the right side to raise the right common carotid artery, along with the right jugular vein. Snip the right common carotid arterial tube. That's going to be ready for the machine when the fluid is getting ready to be introduced. With the jugular vein, that is going to be snipped, along with what are called angular forceps, which you just open up. That's going to be placed down into the jugular vein so the blood can begin to come out. Because as that fluid goes through, the blood is going to be coming out of the body.
Okay.
You know, that is the exchange. So as that is happening, once that is all done and the body is being either massaged and or rigor mortis is being broken, because sometimes there is no rigor mortis, sometimes there is rigor mortis. The variations are almost infinite in which you can encounter with someone, to include people that have been autopsied, which becomes, you know, another form of embalming, as well as putting that person back together respectfully.
Understood.
And, you know, I think most of my peers, because I do this, you know, you always know that person's name.
Yeah.
I always talk with my people. I always call them by names.
Hold on. Your people meaning the person that you're embalming.
Taking care of, yes.
So you're talking directly to them.
I always do.
Makes sense, but...
And, you know, especially you have to understand that with funeral homes, sometimes they are in custody of multiple decedents. They have to be checked regularly, right? For accountability. Yeah. When this happens, I always make sure to talk with that person and call them by name. And that's for me. And I know a lot of embalmers that do that, because I know if that was me, I would want someone to be talking with me.
You're not trying to get haunted. That's what it is.
That too, right? We'll get into that conversation too. I treat them all well.
Right.
When it
Of
comes
course,
to, you know, I know when it comes to unfortunate, whether it's, and this was just me because it's unfortunately with the young or with what we refer to as products of conception, unfortunately, children that did not make it during birth and are kept. You know, I always like to bring in stuffed animals for them, you know, to talk with them, you know, because it's like, man, you didn't have the chance. And I always like, man, if this was me, I was like, I hope wherever you're at, you got all the tiger cubs you can play with, all the ice cream, you know, for you know, the
jungle
the
gyms,
ponies, everything,
Yep.
man, you know, that you got. And that makes that job valuable for me. That's why it was hard hanging up my gun belts when I left the Army. It was a calling. It may have been something different at the beginning, but it turned into something that was my identity. So giving up that was hard, being a protector. Here, it just changed roles. It was something important that had an impact on people's lives, whether they saw it or not, at least, and more importantly for me, it was comforting to be a shepherd of the dead, you know, a guardian for him, you know, a sheepdog, you know, just someone to protect this vessel, regardless of what anyone else's beliefs are. It's like, this is still someone that needs to cross over and needs to be laid to rest properly.
Understood.
I am given that responsibility, so I take it seriously. And again, what you see, and there's plenty of humor. There's plenty of humor that goes in with that. And the things you see, again, you see things that are like, my God, to what embalmers will, the humor because of what you see when it comes to the dead, whether it's bad teeth. You never realize how many people have bad teeth. To
Take care of y'all teeth, y'all.
to toenails on people that grow around their toes that look like they can hang off the rafters like the Lost Boys. You know, like stuff you just can't make up. And you're like, man.
Yeah. Make sure your hygiene is good, man.
Hygiene is
Make sure
good,
your
please.
hygiene is good out
You
there.
know.
So when you die, we might be talking shit about your toenails.
And, you know, and I will say it's a hard job because with not just the makeup school, but with the mortuary school, I will say that with my peers, to include the Tom Savini school that I went to later on, I can probably count on one hand how many of my peers are actively working what they went to school for. Because sometimes you don't realize how hard these jobs are.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, you know, someone coming in dressed in black and like, I'm in touch with death. And this is why I'm doing this job. So you realize, hey, you got to talk with people. You got paperwork to do. You got legal things to know. And let me tell you, in this business, like most jobs, it's not the dead that are the problem. It's the living.
I hear you. I hear you. What you've seen in the Army, as far as the tragedies, do you think that made the mortuary business easier when it comes to seeing these bodies?
I wouldn't necessarily say easier, more so that it made me aware that I was capable of dealing with this situation.
Gotcha.
And, you know, going back to that I said about my veteran comrades asking me, why are you still doing this? This was my gift. When I see something tragic, whether it is a suicide, a tragic drunk driving accident, child abuse, I did not cause this. So no matter what I'm seeing in front of me, that is just like, you know, again, going back to human beings suck, man, what they do to each other. But it's like, I am here to help this person.
Understood.
I'm here to help this family, and someone has to be able to care for this person. And not everyone has these skills. Like in every job, you have people that are good at their job, and you have people that take pride in what they do. You have people that, you're an embalmer? Oh, I went to my grandpa's funeral. He didn't look anything like himself. He just looked dead. He looked horrible. It looks dead.
That's
That's not
fucked up.
her, you know, because it was a bad makeup job because you didn't know how to properly apply makeup, didn't take the time to properly do your embalming analysis. It's like anything else. You got some questionable skill sets out there.
But let me ask you this. What happens when, let's say it's a suicide and a guy blows his own head off with a shotgun? Is that an automatic closed casket, or is somebody going to ask you, hey, can you reconstruct one of these that may look like it?
That is going to be dependent on those who are working at that funeral home. If they have the skill set, or someone that works there with that skill set, and or know someone who has that skill set,
can outsource.
There again, no words for that family, especially when my husband's head was crushed by a car,
truck, or whatever,
and again, shotgun, and even off of the skills, this particular skill set of the gentleman I learned from, the stuff he pulled off, like sorcery.
You dealing with, or you seeing people coming in and out of the mortuary, dead, alive. You're dealing with the families of these people that have passed. I'm sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a level of energy that is coming in and out of these places as far as spiritual, right?
Absolutely.
Spirits, energy, entities, whatever you want to call it, good, bad. You got to have some level of, or some stories where you've seen, heard, felt something like a spirit, a demon, or whatever is around you. There's
a lot of energy that comes, you know, you can feel off of people, at least I feel.
Like even off of the person that has passed?
Sometimes, yes, you know, and again, I'm grateful that I've never come across anyone that had done something that's going to resonate as something malevolent. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of weight, and also my personal beliefs. Funeral homes have a lot of history, and I do believe what has passed through those funeral homes, what has happened at those funeral homes, tend to be baked in. So that can involve what someone experiences or hears. I don't get spooked easily. I rarely do. And you know, there's a lot of times I be working by myself at night, and there'll be the loud thud coming from another room. I think I'd mentioned there was one time, and again, you could try to explain it scientifically. The floor wasn't leveled. I was sitting down, and one of the steel tables that a decedent is used to be transported from the cooler to the embalming table was in front of me, and I just see the nothing crazy, right? It didn't like shoot up across The Exorcist. But I'm sitting there because I'm looking at it, and this so far this has been my reaction. And this has been my reaction because again, hard to spook things I've seen, but I got it. I'm not. I don't think I'm that type of person to believe it's nothing. There's always something, man. There's always something. I will stop and be like, look. And I will start talking to the room.
Okay, see, that reminds me of myself.
I am here to help you. So, and whether it's a guy or a girl, it's like, I'm here to make you beautiful, or I'm here to make you handsome. I did not do this, man. Right?
I got nothing to do
so
with
it. If you've got vengeance on your mind, I am not that person. Because if you don't want to have like fish lips or have like, if you don't want to look like Bozo the Clown, you're going to let me do my job. So please, now, if it's something you need to tell me, I got it. But, I'm tired. I'm hungry. I've been working on you for a while, so let's keep the haunting shit to a minimum, please.
Got you. So that's the one thing that has happened for sure. Look, the table has moved.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, however you want to explain it, it's like, well, the level of the foundation was, the dead passed through there.
Have you seen a body move before? Like after it already came in and it was pronounced dead? You see,
I had to
arm fall off the table or anything like that.
you know, you mentioned that, an arm off the table, right? When the rigor mortis hasn't set in, and maybe I think I haven't placed him dead center, and a hand comes off, because the first thing I start thinking about is Friday the 13th Part 4. that blanket's getting ready to be taken off. I haven't, as far as silhouettes, it's been mainly noises, nothing visual, but it's much like the I don't know if you were familiar with the tracks in San Antonio. They are no longer there. And I wish I could, if people are listening to me speak about this, someone's gonna let you know. But the tracks was a very popular area to go to in San Antonio. A haunted area, which I went one time. It was very it's definitely one of those places you go and makes your hair stand on end. And the story that was around these particular tracks, which again are no longer there because they were either not covered up but redirected somehow by San Antonio. It was a San Antonio staple. It was I can't remember what decade, but it was a school bus full of children that stalled on the tracks and got hit by an oncoming train, and the children died.
The whole bus.
The bus, right? However many children were on there. And if you look this story up, and it'll tell you the number and the year, because there's articles. The legend was, if you went up with there and parked your car on the tracks, and granted, it wasn't a decline, the car would start moving. And the legend is the kids were pushing you off the tracks because they didn't want that happening to someone.
Save you.
So it was a big thing. People would go there and put baby powder on their windows to see if the little handprints, and based off of what you think your mind is telling you, because sure as shit I went and that car started getting pushed.
That shit happened to you?
Yeah, because I went there, everyone goes. Of course, and I was just like, I was like, God damn, this shit's real, man.
What the hell? At least they was looking out for you.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point in time they were getting tired. Like, how many of these people are going to keep coming, man?
This the 78th person this week. Oh man.
But it's as far as apparitions or anything appearing to me, nothing yet, right? Yet.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to take it a little further back. Army. Walk me through your initial, I guess, your thought of entering the Army.
So I joined when I was 18 and fresh out of high school. But I didn't know much about the military. I didn't know anything. So, I enlisted as a personnel specialist. Okay. So I was working in an office. Right. I always hate saying that because, I'm like, man, I'm carved of wood. I've done all this cool stuff. But when I enlisted, I joined as a personnel specialist in the Army Reserves because I didn't know any better. I thought I was going to be jumping out of airplanes and shooting at things, Instead, I'm here with a pencil, man, right. So I decided to go active duty, and from then on, I became a 11 Bravo infantryman for the next 20 years. So I was a ground fighter for 2 decades.
Well, before we move any further, I just want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And thank you to anybody out there watching that is serving our country and has served our country. So I appreciate y'all. With that being said, I ask about your initial thought going into the Army because people do hear about these war stories. Right. And these incidents happening where they lose their legs or, get shot and never come home, hit a bomb, whatever it may be. Things happen in combat. And I'm sure you've seen a thing or two.
I always say, not likely. I was privileged to serve this country, and it wasn't easy. But in the end, when it did come time to get deployed to my first combat tour, I was worried. I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, what happens when I get there? And whatever happens, I don't know if I'm going to curl up in the fetal position. I don't know if I'm just going to be like, oh, this is not, I don't want to die. But when I got there with all the training and just my frame of mind, I took to it like a duck to water.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was pleasant. It was hard. I saw a lot of things that weren't pleasant, and experienced a few things that were pretty horrific. But in the end, I am so proud of the men and the women that I did serve with, but it was mainly men because at the time, my particular job was still just a male-dominated job. There was no females in the infantry at the time. Of course, that has changed.
Of course.
So, my first tour in Iraq, I was a squad leader, and I was with 2-7 Cavalry, and if I had to pick one story from that tour, because there's always plenty.
Of course.
There was one particular day where it was during the Islamic holiday of Ramadan, or that time period. And me and my men were working out of a post on the outside, and the name was Animal, Patrol Base Animal. So it was a lot of Iraqi soldiers and policemen that were there that day. And like any reason why we were in Iraq, it's at that point in time, ISIS wasn't as big at the time I was in, where this was the 2004, 2005 when I was there. It was more Al-Qaeda still. So when me, along with the captain who was in charge of that unit, pulled up into this compound, all these soldiers were standing out in the courtyard, and that courtyard got attacked by mortars that were sent by insurgents. So the entire courtyard, standing, with Iraqi soldiers, just completely bombed while they're standing out there.
You've seen this.
Yeah, and there's small arms fire coming in from the outside in at the same time. It was an attack. And me and the men I was with were standing out in that courtyard when everything started coming in. And as soon as we heard the whistle of those mortars, of course, unanimously everyone is incoming and everyone is running. Particularly we're running to our vehicles because we were working out of up-armored Humvees, getting to cover right away because you don't know where mortars are going to hit, and then it's going to be the shrapnel. And we're getting up on comms and radios, checking on everyone's status to, hey, give me what we would refer to, just give me an up, give me a status. We need to make sure none of us are hurt or killed. Across the radio, everyone is good, breath of relief. Okay, got it. Let's get a hold of the situation. But as soon as we got that status, you could hear the screams and groans across that courtyard because mortars came in on, we're talking at least over 100 Iraqi soldiers standing out there. So there was, at the time, the final count was about 70 casualties. We were far from the military post we were working out of. And I remember every man getting out there because there were still mortars that were randomly coming in, and still small arms fire coming from the outside in as we were trying to deal with that. But not one of those men hesitated to go and get all the first aid supplies and just started running to every casualty they could and start performing first aid or beginning the triage process, because I had never seen 70 people just laid out like that, at all. This is, again, my first combat tour. And there's body parts laying on the ground. There's soldiers that are dead. And we only had one medic because every unit always has a medic with him. And I remember our medic was just going nonstop. And we were at this for a while before a medevac, which was a Black Hawk helicopter coming in to take out the wounded soldiers first, and then Kazovac, which is the term for anything by ground. So they brought those people in, and they got them all out. But again, with everything going down, I always look back at those men, because all of those men, to include myself, were put in for Army Commendation medals with valor for being there when that happens. And it wasn't like we're awesome. It was just anyone in any unit, regardless of what their job was, would have done the same thing. It was just our time for that. But that was the story I remember from that tour.
I want to jump back into that though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually on this channel, people are doing special effects makeup, right? We have mediums, we have witches, we have ghost hunters. We got all kind of stuff. That doesn't amount to me to what you've been through and what you've physically seen with your own eyes and had to do. We're talking about real body parts. We're talking about real people screaming, dying out. Things that we see in movies today.
Yes.
That's something that you witnessed firsthand. What does that do to a man? Like, how does that change your perspective on things that this is real? Do you lose sleep?
And I think it's different for everyone because everyone, based off of how they were brought up, their thought process, and how they process death, very different. I can speak about it now.
Right.
If I was to have this conversation 10, 15 years ago, I would not be able to. I would not be able, and I'll probably still get misty-eyed at a few things. But back then, I wouldn't be able to without just tears running down my face.
Right.
You can go through training all you want, but when you actually see what human beings are capable of doing to each other, it can blow your mind.
That's the real horror.
Yeah, it's the real horror. You know, I will say, I don't care about any horror fan, whoever their favorite monster is never going to compare to a human being and the atrocious things they can do, which is why we probably love monsters because, they have a reason and they're lovable. But with humans, it's another thing.
Right.
But I will say this, and I will say this for the men, at least that I've worked with. At no point in time, no matter the atrocities that we're seeing, I never had anyone, to include myself, that I was always thinking about cross a line that went into something immoral, illegal, and I'm a firm believer in the terms of, if you would, the biblical term. I think there's a difference, but I firmly believe there's a difference between killing and murder. And I never saw anyone cross that line into murder, which I think is what would set a human being up for a mental traumatic response coming back. But even though anything we did, at least in my mind, was still within the realm of justifications, it still brought in problems for everyone, and it wasn't the fighting, right? The fighting was natural. Even when things were bad, it was always the loss of someone you knew. And I think what that awakened in, which will go later on into my career, was a firm reminder that life is not inexhaustible and it can be taken out in a second.
Man, like, just thinking, you sit here and you talk about the thin line between killing and murder. I would think from the outside looking in, I've never been to the army. I've never been to war. I've never seen the things that you've seen. But when you say the difference between killing and murder, it sounds like everything goes at that point.
Well, and again,
you drop a bomb on somebody, what does it matter if it's killing or murder at that point?
And and again, this is just from my own experience because everyone's experience in combat is different, and also based off of what they do. And I was just a regular grunt, just a regular ground pounder that found himself in very extraordinary situations a lot of the time, or ordinary situations, considering where we were at.
Right.
And again, it's hard to see that over there. It really is much like a movie where there's dead bodies on the street. There's something wrapped in the carpet. There's someone wrapped in the carpet over there. And it's not like you can just call the police. And then you also don't know if that body in that carpet is rigged with an IED for a U.S. soldier to see what's going on in there. And again, at that point in time, the improvised explosive devices were pretty horrendous, because those IEDs that were happening on both my tours were responsible for taking the lives of soldiers that I knew, especially particularly on that first tour, there was on my second tour, magnificent soldier that I worked with, Bible believer, his name was Daniel. Great man. And we were on patrol one day, and I was leading out the patrol, and at that point in time, again, 2006, one of the big tactics that were happening was there was what IEDs called EFPs, and they were explosive form projectiles. These particular IEDs were brass plates that when ignited would turn into a brass slug, which in turn would cut through armor. So up-armored Humvees, tanks, they were horrific. They were more expensive to make, harder to find. They weren't just everywhere, but they were out there. And that is one that took the life of this young man that was driving in the Humvee behind me. And I remember, and it was hard because this was like almost at the start of the tour, like just like the day after Thanksgiving. And I remember everyone being shaken up because that man always rode with a Bible right on his dashboard. He was a preacher. He loved God, and he was all about, preaching the word. Hell, even I watched my language when I was around him. Not because I didn't want to. That's how much respect I had for him. But everyone, I remember, if he was the first to go, what chance do the rest of us stand?
Right.
Damn. Those are just things you don't really think about in life when things happen. And again, it brings you to the reality that it's life. It is life. It is what the situations and jobs you're putting yourself in.
Right. Let's jump into just one more thing about your time in the Army.
Absolutely.
Because I want to stress this. I don't think people really understand, even the people that are watching this. I don't think they understand how bad people can really be.
Yeah,
right.
You get a good grasp of that just by watching the news, right? Just the news here.
Yep. But you've had some instances where you've been shot yourself.
Yeah.
Correct?
I always say it was my tour in Afghanistan. That was my unlucky tour.
Where were you shot? If you mind me asking.
No, not at all. Not at all. I was shot twice on the patrol because I was up in Afghanistan, and I was a platoon sergeant at this time on one particular patrol, foot patrol. We ended up hitting an ambush. So to answer the question, sorry, I went offline.
You're good.
I got shot through my leg, and I got shot through my right flank.
Okay.
And what it was as we were on our patrol, going through the villages, as a platoon sergeant, I'm usually near the rear with the medic, part of command and control, along with the platoon leader. So there was a creek in front of me, and I always had my rifle slung in front of me up high. And the creek versus having my weapon at the ready, I put it up here, and I hopped over the creek. And as soon as I hopped over the creek, I heard, bah, and I felt my left leg buckle. And it was sharp. And, because right away I was like, what the fuck? And the thing is, in any of the war zones at Iraq and Afghanistan, a technique that insurgents were using was, even though IEDs were mainly for vehicles, they started placing IEDs for dismounted soldiers. Depending on, they would figure out routes, or this is more than likely where they're going to walk through. Let's place this here and kill as many U.S. soldiers as we can. So for a minute, and this is all happening in a second, I thought I may have stepped on a dismounted IED that wasn't set up correctly. And then the other embarrassing thought was, and this would be horrible as a platoon, as just a soldier, period, I may have had an accidental discharge, right? Like that's just a big no-no, man. Like, this is our profession. It's like, who the hell is an accidental discharge? But as soon as my leg buckled, I swept my thumb across my safety lever. I was like, it's unsafe. IED, and again, as I'm having this conversation, the second shot rang within seconds of that. But this is how the mind is processing. There's a lot.
Yep.
So the second shot comes, and it goes through my body armor on my right side, and the body armor we have side plates, and it hit the bottom of the plate and went through. It was just immediate. It was piercing, and I was falling already to the ground. Now, what I had on my back was an AT-4, which is an anti-tank missile. So, hey, if I was aiming on the opposite side, I'd be the person I'd shoot. That guy has an AT-4. Yeah, get rid of him. Mm-hmm. But on my way to the ground, which was, whatever, half a second, I'm thinking, I just got shot. Yeah. And the next thing I know in my mind, I'm about to do this combat role and come up like Desperado with the guitar case and my leg out to the side and shoot my AT-4, just like the movies. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to fuck shit up. I hit the ground. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh no. The pain
out of commission
that hit me was so intense. But as soon as that happened, that's when the ambush kicked off. The rounds are coming our way, and now my boys are starting to lay it down, and laying it down like a scene from Predator. Yeah. And as I'm on the ground, one of my squad leaders, on your body armor, you have a handle back there, a drag handle. Yep. Grabs me by the drag handle and starts dragging me up, man. And he pushes me by this little dirt berm, some cover, and I'm just like in this. I always describe it as a bunch of wasps or bees stinging you that you can't shoo away. And they're just stinging you continuously.
That's the feeling of the gunshot.
Yeah, it was the feeling of the gunshot that went in. Yeah. Like it was just, oh man. Trying to get my bearing. I don't know what's going on yet. Obviously, ambush. But I don't know if we've got enemy combatants coming toward us. I don't know if we got enemy combatants coming from the side. I'm trying to get my weapon at the ready because I'm just like, and I can hear medic. Yeah. And my medic who was with me comes up, Robert Burke, because I love you. And he's here in Dallas. I just recently saw him. I love that man. Anyway, my medic comes up to me, and my boys are laying it down, and I'm just there. I'm just hollering the high heaven. It's not my most graceful moment. Because I wish I could tell you. I got up and, I just started, shooting from the hip, and I'm like, follow me. I was like, no, man. I was screaming like a bitch with a scraped knee. My medic comes and, right away, I'm losing a lot of blood. Yeah. And he's there, and he's trying to assess the situation, get the wound while this is all going. And he's working on me, and I'm like, Doc! And he's like, what? I'm like, I've got all these, I have all these tattoos on my left leg. Not as many as I do now, but I was like, Doc, what? Are my tattoos okay? And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You're not even worried about dying.
My leg. He was like, you got, and I'm glad I said that because he didn't know I got shot in the leg. Now, granted, this was the big one because of all the blood loss. Right. But he still had to treat it because there was still plenty of blood coming out there too. So the ambush went on for however many minutes. It probably about, the actual firefight, maybe about 5 minutes. The entire time was, half an hour. I get taken to the nearest combat outpost because I need emergency surgery. And, they put me under, and I just remember everything going black. The worse than getting shot was they had to do exploratory surgery. So they had to split me up the middle to make sure nothing vital was hit, my intestines, and make sure, just everything. Everything was there. Yeah. But this guy comes in, and I can't remember who he was, but he sits down, and he's like, hey, you're going to get your Purple Heart tonight. Are you okay getting it by the president? And again, I'm doped up, and child of the 80s, I love Escape from New York. And my best Snake Plissken voice, I was thinking, president of what? I'm like, president of the hospital, president of the Salvation Army. Yeah. It did not register to me president of the United States. Right. And what happened was President Barack Obama came into Afghanistan that night because he was going to speak with the Afghanistan president. And they put me in the room with 5 other soldiers that were all messed up in different sectors in Afghanistan. I mean, horribly messed up. I mean, I had scratches compared to them. And everyone leaves the room, and the next thing I know, the door opens up, and turns out it was a Secret Service guy comes in, photographer, and here comes President Barack Obama. And then more Secret Service, man. Little skinny Barack, man. I'm like, now in my mind, I could play different. Like, yeah, I'm glad he got the word because he needed to come and see me. That wasn't that important, but in my mind, it might have happened that way. But no, it was just situational. He was in that hospital, and I believed he asked about any soldiers that were there. Yeah. So I remember him taking the time to talk with each soldier, all of us, and reading individually our Purple Heart orders. Because unlike, there's usually, if not only, 2 awards. President is always going to award the Congressional Medal of Honor in person. Purple Hearts, that's situational. Ain't no way for a president to be around everyone that gets tagged in country. So it was a pretty big honor to have the boss come in, for that.
I want to jump into something else that you do. You lead makeup for mass casualty exercises. Is that something how you?
Yeah, I do. I work for an organization in San Antonio that takes care of real life disasters in Texas. Floods, fires, man disasters, shootings. Yeah. This particular organization puts on mass casualty exercises for first responders. And
this is basically practice.
Yes, just practice.
Just for the people watching.
It's for police, fire department, EMTs. And when we're talking mass casualty exercises, the exercises that I participate in are not in the 60s. We're talking in the hundreds. We're talking, let's say this last one that happened was 500 volunteers come from, say, schools, different institutions that are going to have special makeup effects done on them based off of the scenario, i.e. a mass shooter at a graduation. So 500 people are going to be in various states, from dead to
fucked up,
life-threatening injuries, to not just a mass shooter, but we had 3, let's just say, homegrown insurgents, local radicals. Okay. So now we have 2 pipe bombs that are involved. So now we have shrapnels. We have let's elevate this into an attack. So
this is all in one.
Yeah, it's all in one, right? So they're not given the detail of who's where, what kind of injuries, and this is just like military training. This is where people get evaluated to see if things are being done right. But they asked me to teach, and now I teach their program for the volunteers that are going to be makeup artists. And they come from all fields of forensics to military to first responders to special makeup effects artists that haven't had a chance to go out into the world.
So you're teaching these individuals how to create lacerations,
incisions,
gunshots, whatever it may
entrance, exits, third-degree burns, shrapnel. Because
that's dope.
and I love it because, again, this is something I get to teach based off of everything that I have learned. And the great thing about these classes, and I can always give the information out later for anyone that wants to know, because they only happen at certain times of the year. Okay. But the classes I do this for, it's free for the people that are going to volunteer as makeup artists if they can commit to the exercise.
Understood.
Because this is, and I say 500 this year, previous year was 700. Even with my trusted circle of special makeup effects artists, that's some Lord of the Rings stuff, man. I can't do 700, man. I was like, when did this turn into a movie set? Yeah. So I teach these people how to use everything and anything. And the great thing is, I'm not sponsored by anyone. Right. I've learned how to use everything in every product from every line. So that's the great thing, is I get to teach these artists on what to use, what's in front of them, from Hollywood grade makeup to the stuff you get at HEB. I show you, this is how you can use this and this and this. And you know what? It's a great time. I get to employ my skills, and the best part is it's for first responders. And you know,
that's dope.
Like anytime I get projects or jobs, I will always try to. You tell me you need me for something that's going to support the first responder or military, I would drop what I am doing.
Yep. You actually spoke about Hollywood. I just want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Give me your top 5 scary movies.
Ooh. So Halloween is my number one all-time favorite.
One?
The original, right?
Okay,
We're talking the original.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I will say this because people hear me be like, Halloween. Look, it made an impact on me as a child. And this is before Michael Myers became a stupid meme on social media of you know, doing La Macarena and you know, surfing in shorts. This was like when this was the boogeyman, man. Have some respect for the man. Have some respect for them. Man, this is Michael Myers. That original Halloween, hands down, was my favorite because it scared the living hell out of me as a young boy. Going right into The Thing. John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing. You know, like most makeup artists, that's it. That's the mecca for special makeup effects artists. It's like, man, Rob Bottin's work in that movie, phenomenal.
That's 2.
So the third one is I'm a huge fan of Creepshow. Creepshow is definitely one of my go-to anthologies. This one may not be on the gory list, but it is still a personal favorite, and that's John Carpenter's The Fog. I love that movie, man.
I was just telling my mom about that movie. When it got really foggy over here, and I was like, this reminds me of The Fog. She's like, I've never seen that movie.
Right. And you know, again, I can go on and on, right? But the top 5, and then, of course, you can't... it's always a toss-up, right? You know, because I'm like...
Throw them both in there.
It's going to be, of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the original Hellraiser. You know, a huge
Not
Clive
many
Barker
people
fan.
Hellraiser.
Yeah,
Pinhead.
You know, being the kid of the '80s and a latchkey kid. You know, so I grew up on the video stores because I had a single guardian raising me, and it was always take them to the video store, go get what you want. And what does a young man go to? What has the best box art? What section had the best box art? The horror.
All right, I want a few more things.
Yeah, ask away.
This might be a little touchy subject, but you've dealt with death. You've seen it firsthand. But I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this when you lose an animal. You lost a dog. Can you tell me about that?
Oh yeah, I've lost a couple. So,
but there was one where you specifically told
one
me
in
about.
particular. Yep. So here's something I probably haven't mentioned about myself that it was a big impact onto what I am today. You know, when you say the impacts of war and bad things that happen, I will say that. Good 15 years, raging, functioning alcoholic, complete, utter, booze. That turned my life upside down. But I was still functioning, and the tales that go with that are horrendous, right? But you throw war into an alcoholic state of mind, and it's just, it's gasoline on the fire. Was a lot. The time as an alcoholic, which I will say I'm going to be dealing with for the rest of my life because I've been 13 years sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Either way, I have a dog. His name was Diablo, the white devil. Diablo, the white devil. He was a great white Lab Pyrenees mix. Okay. And I had got him after my first tour in Iraq because he reminded me of some dogs I was taking care of in Iraq. Unfortunately, I knew when I was leaving there, I'm sure they weren't going to last. And when I came back, found this dog, and he was my bud. And I love that dog. Love that dog to death. But as I'm healing, not just from my gunshot wounds, which just happened to be in conjunction with me hitting rock bottom afterwards. I remember that dog being next to me when I was shaking with not just DTs, but anger and not like, I'm not going to get through this, man. There's no fucking way I'm going to stop drinking. It's not going. That dog was always there. And I'll tell you, and that dog, tried to tear up. That dog still loved me. Animals were amazing. Don't deserve them. But as I started my journey and going into sobriety and now finishing out my career with amazing things because I wasn't drinking. When it came time for me to come back to Texas after cinema makeup school, that dog was still with me. He was getting 14, and unfortunately, he was getting ready to go. Yeah. He was old, and he was in pain. I finally bought my house I'm living in now. I was like, got your forever home, you know? But he was there for a little bit, and it was just that time. He was suffering, and I could tell I knew his age. We can try to extend his life, but he's not going to be happy. And it was just one day where he was just shaking violently, and he was a big dog. And it was like, well, we can put him down. And I knew it needed to be, it was like, it's going to be the humane thing. I did not want to fucking do it. And I had already thought about it. I was like, I need a moment. So I sat there with him and I talked with him. I was like, look, dude, you've been by my side. You're going to cross over into doggy Valhalla. I hope you have all the Labrador bitches you can handle, all the T-bone steaks you can have. I was like, this is going to be good. I was like, I just need you to wait for me. Need you to wait for me, okay? And I called the vet in, and he was in my arms, and I had never done that. I had never had an animal euthanized in my arms, not in that manner. Something that was mine. Right. And it was definitely humane. It was, They put in the shot to put him to sleep, and then they put in the poison, and then it wasn't long before he stopped breathing. And the doctor's like, it's done. I was like, okay, can you? I just need a minute because I could just feel it. I could feel everything welling up. I could probably tell this story relatively decent, okay, right now. You asked me to tell this story again, much like my life 10 years ago, I would be bawling like a bitch, man. Mm-hmm. As soon as that doctor went out, I have never sobbed so uncontrollably in my life. And I've had some pretty horrific things. I've seen some bad, to include, men that I absolutely loved as brothers die next to me in combat. Mm-hmm. But there's something about an animal. It's just one of those things. I cried, and I just started mortuary science school. And when it was said and done, I was a big fucker. I was like, he's coming with me. I'm taking his body. And I took him, I put him in the Jeep, and I took him home. Then the next day I dug a hole in the backyard. It was my first funeral as a future funeral director, man. And I was so fucking mad, Ski. I was so fucking mad that week. I was, at this point in time, I was probably maybe about 4 years sober. 5, and I was fucking mad, man. I was like, I wanted to drink, and what did you know? A week to the day I put that dog down, there was a German Shepherd on the road. I was coming from a meeting, and I see this juvenile on the road, and I stop, and I just go, and I was like, man, that's beautiful. That was in an industrial area. He was running with some other dog, and I just stopped, and the dog came over, and I petted him. And I was just like, don't get hit. And I get back in the Jeep, and I'm going. I'm like, he didn't have a collar. And I'm not going to say, I was just like, see if he comes up to you again. And I'm looking around, right? I'm like, no collar. I'm not seeing any homes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, let me take you with me because you're going to get hit. I took him straight to the place I euthanized my dog. Same day, 7 days, man. Directly 7 days to the moment. To make sure he didn't have a chip. Mm-hmm. So for a week I'm looking, and finally I'm like, stop. I was like, fucking stop. I was like, I was trying not to tear up like a bitch on this. That's your dog putting in the work for you. He knew you needed someone. That's him. Name that dog Beast after the German Shepherd on The Hills Have Eyes. And
Beast was a monster in that movie.
Yeah, and I love that dog. Unfortunately, even Beast passed away this past year.
Sorry to hear that.
No, you know what? It was, and again, the same thing, same manner. But there's something about animals. And it wasn't too long before Beast passed away, who was buried next to Diablo, that I had found another German Shepherd on the street. No thing, right? No, like preemptive strike. Like I can't bring this dog. Like
they keep bringing you homies.
And that Shepherd, this who I have now, I named him Shane.
So you got another one. You kept him.
Yeah, that Shane after the German Shepherd from the original Tales from the Crypt movie.
Okay, yep.
So
I've got 3 for 3 right now.
So I got Shane with me, who's alive. Diablo and Beast are buried in the back, and I love that they're back there because I can talk with them every day. I'd be like, "Good morning, boys." Yeah. And plus, I think if I die some violent death, that my zombie dogs are gonna come out of the fucking ground and seek vengeance for their master. That's a badass movie right there.
That would be kind of crazy. That'd be kind of crazy. Let me ask you this. It's the last few questions here. Now that we've talked about your dogs passing away, right? You've seen people pass away. You've worked on people that have passed away. Do you fear death? Like, is that something? Are you? I don't even know how to ask.
No. I understand exactly what you're saying. I wish I could sit here and be like, I don't fear death.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But you know what? I'm good with it. I'm not looking forward to it.
Right. Okay.
And I will say that at least in my prayers, at least to my higher power, it's let it be a good death. It's like, let it be a good death. Either next to a warm body, saving someone's life, or watching the thing with my grandkids and just let me pass away in peace. Let it be a good death. Because I've been very grateful for what I've been able to experience. But the reality of what I see here is it won't take too much for me to walk out the house and be T-boned by some college freshman that's late because they had to stop at Starbucks and were looking at their phone, and now my whole badass life is just got killed by the kid who's late for work, right?
That should have happened.
But in the end, I will say this.
Yeah.
Through everything that I have seen, it has truly given me a zest and flavor for life. Because it will come to an end. It will come to an end. So it's very, each day matters, man. Like each day, because you don't know. You just don't know.
Yep.
And it matters to tell the people you care about that you love them. It matters to reach out to people, that you've been friends with, and I'm guilty of having friends that maybe I don't talk with, I was guilty of people I owe apologies to for behaviors or actions, because it doesn't matter, even without drinking, sometimes I can still say or do some really crappy things. And then, when I'm here, I'm like, I need to reach out and apologize. I need to change this, because you don't know when it's going to end. Yeah. And it's really my career, the mortuary business, what I've experienced, what I see, I'm hoping there's something badass on the other side. I really, because there's so many factors and outcomes, and the beliefs of everyone, and I have my own beliefs, and I'm hoping that when I close my eyes and I open up, man, it's just going to be badass. Yeah. But if not, if it just ends up being nothing, I need to make everything count here and live it like no tomorrow. Love like you've never loved. Live like you never lived. Yeah. Be kind when you can, And like I said, for me, in order to do that, I will kind of circle back around. The big part are the people that are around my life, and everything that has happened is because I'm fucking sober today. That's the big one. That's the big one for me. Because without that, I got nothing.
I'm gonna ask you this last question. We're gonna end it on this. I got people around me that are alcoholics. I'm sure plenty of people watching this may be alcoholic or may be dealing with somebody that they love or care for that is in that position. What helped you? And I know you had to technically hit rock bottom, but within that rock bottom point, like, is there light for people that are going through this? What helped you? What could help the next person that's watching this?
When I started drinking, it wasn't too long after I joined active duty in the Army. Young man, out in the world in the first time, broken heart. I'm going to drink. But when I started, I lit that fuse quick. It's like I found my X-Men power once I started drinking. It was off and going, man. No one ever called me on my shit when I was drinking in the Army. So I thought it was okay. And again, we can talk about some going to jail, DUIs, opportunities lost, embarrassing situations, dangerous situations, being sick every day, never operating at 100%, and then finding yourself in a point where you wanted to do all these things in life, but now you're just drifting from day to day because all you are is sick and all you can do is drink. And there's a point real fast where it's no longer pleasurable, but you got to do it. Like, there is no not putting it down, even if you don't want to. And it is a very, very powerful, horrible, I'll use the word disease to have. And I had someone recommend, hey, why don't you go to 12-step program? This for me was at the end because I couldn't stop. I didn't know how to stop as something was coming. This wasn't like I had a bad day, was in jail. I'm talking about the world is coming to a fucking end. Like everything, my life is going to come to an end real fast. I went because I was going to go and be like, this ain't going to work. This ain't going to work. But I'm going to go so I can say that I went, and that's it.
I think that's a common perception.
Yeah, right? I'm going to go, and that's it. I didn't have an epiphany. I didn't walk into that room in that meeting and be like, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
These people care. This is what, hell no, man. I sat there with my arms crossed. I wanted out that door, but I was going to sit here because I needed to make sure to tell myself this isn't going to work. Nothing's going to work.
Trying to prove your point.
Yeah, but I was desperate. When it was done, I got up and I was getting ready to storm out the door. Someone put their hand on my shoulder and said, hey, keep coming back. And again, didn't have that moment. Didn't have that like, oh, you're right. Yeah. No, I stormed out and I was just like, yeah, you know what? Thanks.
They planted a seed though.
But you know what? The next day, because 24 hours without a drink, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Went back the next day. Because for whatever reason, I'm just like, I'm going to go just one more day. Yeah. Go one more time, just to at least say you went. And it wasn't just one time, you went twice. Mm-hmm. And I went, left. I tried it one more time. I'm like, these people are crazy. They're all sick. They're drunks. I don't want to be here. This shit doesn't work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still say that, and it's been 13 years.
Yep.
I stopped trying to explain it.
Yeah.
I stopped trying to explain it. That room is not for people who need it. It's for people that want it. Because everything that I have now that I've talked about, and there's plenty of success. Yeah. There is more successes in these stories, and I know what to talk. I can talk for hours. Yeah. But it's not because of me. It's because I stopped drinking. It's because I stopped drinking. When I started operating at 100% again, what was achieved was insane. But I'm not out of the woods. This is something I'm going to be dealing with till I die, right? I never say recovered, because there's plenty of times I want to throw in the white flag and call it, man. Because, man, I tell you what, vodka, I love vodka. Vodka's my girl. Vodka's my girl. I miss her. I'm like, you know what she's going to do to me? She's going to destroy me. Vodka and beer. between PTS, you know, and I will say this, is kind of like whatever shell shock, you know, or things I may considered embedded themselves because of the war, the drinking, my own, and it all stems from deeper problems, right? You can
Of
delve
course,
into
yep.
this, but I've managed to get my animals back in their cages. They're in the cage,
way
like
to put it.
everything, right?
Yeah.
They're in the fucking cage, and I've got the locks on them. Sometimes I think of it more of Godzilla, because I'm like, that motherfucker can't be killed, but he's contained, he's locked up. Don't mess with the lock.
Yeah.
Don't go check on how he's doing. Don't go. I just want to make sure the foundation's good, you know. And sometimes those
Yeah.
animals, I'll think of it as an ex, you know, maybe a long time ex lover or girlfriend, and be like, maybe I should go check on her.
Hell no.
You know, it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, hey, it's thinking about you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, leave the fucking locks alone.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
like, because it's gonna be there, and it's in there doing push-ups.
Yeah.
With a knife in its teeth.
Getting ready.
Waiting for you to do one mess up. But anyway, for the long story short, there's nothing easy, but there are people out there that will help.
Yeah.
And I look back at these 13 years, I'm like, if I would have broke there, this wouldn't have happened. If I would have broke there, this wouldn't have happened.
From listening to you, this is more so about a choice that you make consistently. Not just it was one choice where you went one day, but you've been going it 13 years. And every day you make this choice to stay on this path, which has continued to open doors for you. Which is why you're able to see the next door, to reach the next door, to open the next door. On this channel, like I've said before, we've had, you know, the paranormal stuff, the scary stuff, the whatever, movies, whatever. This is the real life horror stuff that so many people go through. And I don't think enough people talk about, at least openly. So I just want to say thank you for being this open, this honest, because it's not too many people probably will come across that are this open and honest. So
I appreciate that.
Just want to say thank you. Continue doing what you're doing. You wouldn't be here if you probably continued drinking. So I'm definitely grateful. And anybody watching this, if you have any troubles with alcohol, keep taking one day at a time, man, and make the choice. It's up to you. I truly believe that. Anthony's a testimony of that. Is there anything else you want to tell the people?
Yeah. Follow your dreams. Because if you don't, I think I heard Tom Savini say this, they will haunt you. They will haunt you. So find your passion and follow it, because it ain't nothing impossible. Not a damn thing impossible.
There you go, y'all. We're going to end it right there. I appreciate y'all watching. Stay tuned. Stay horrible.